I was already in my car, driving toward what I thought would be just another family dinner, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed my financial advisor's name, Michael. Strange, considering it was 7 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Something in my gut told me to answer immediately. "Richard, thank God you picked up." His voice was urgent, almost panicked. "Don't go to that dinner. Whatever you do, don't go to your sister's house tonight." I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands trembling slightly as I gripped the steering wheel. "Michael, what's going on? You're scaring me." "I've been going through some paperwork for your property portfolio, and I discovered something that's going to shock you. Your sister Patricia, she's been forging documents. She's already started the process to transfer your house, your family home, into her name." The world seemed to stop spinning. Patricia, my younger sister, who I'd helped through college, who I'd supported when she went through her divorce, who I'd trusted with everything. That's impossible. She doesn't even have access to those documents. "Richard, I have copies of everything right here. She used a power of attorney document that appears to have your signature, but I'm looking at it now, and something feels off. The signature doesn't match your usual one. I think she forged it." My mind raced back to 3 months ago when Patricia had asked me to sign some routine paperwork for what she claimed were tax purposes. I was dealing with my own divorce at the time, emotionally drained from months of legal battles with my ex-wife, Sarah. The stress had been overwhelming: sleepless nights, anxiety attacks, and the constant worry about dividing assets that took me 30 years to build. Patricia had been so supportive during that time, bringing me home-cooked meals, helping organize my documents, even accompanying me to some of my lawyer meetings for moral support. I trusted her completely. When she spread those papers across my kitchen table that evening, explaining they were just routine tax documents that needed to be filed before the deadline, I signed without reading thoroughly. I was grateful that someone in my family was looking out for me during such a difficult period. How could I have been so naive? "Michael, are you absolutely certain about this?" My voice cracked as I spoke. "I've already contacted a handwriting expert. This is serious, Richard. She's not just taking your house. She's been systematically accessing your other assets too. I found transactions that don't make sense. Money being moved around, investments being liquidated. I think she's been planning this for months. Maybe even since before your divorce proceedings began." I sat in my car, feeling like someone had punched me in the stomach repeatedly. Patricia had always been the family favorite. Our parents died in a car accident 5 years ago, leaving us both substantial inheritances. Dad had built a successful construction company over 40 years, and Mum had invested wisely in real estate. Together, they'd left us each over $1 million. But somehow Patricia had burned through her entire inheritance within 2 years. Bad investments, she claimed. A restaurant business venture that failed spectacularly. A boyfriend who convinced her to invest in cryptocurrency schemes that turned out to be fraudulent. I'd helped her multiple times during those financial crises, never asking for anything in return. When she lost her house, I helped her with the down payment on a smaller place. When her car was repossessed, I co-signed for a new loan. When she couldn't make her credit card payments, I covered them to protect her credit score. I thought I was being a good older brother, protecting my little sister the way our parents would have wanted. "How much are we talking about here?" I whispered, afraid to hear the answer. "Richard, if she completes this transfer, she'll have control of assets worth approximately $2.3 million. Your house alone is worth $800,000, plus the investment accounts she's been accessing through fraudulent means. We're looking at potential financial devastation for you." The phone felt heavy in my hands. At 52 years old, I'd worked my entire adult life to build financial security. I'd started as an apprentice electrician right out of high school, worked overtime for years, saved every penny I could, invested wisely, and built a successful electrical contracting business. Everything I owned represented decades of early mornings, late nights, and careful planning for my future retirement. What do I do, Michael? First, don't go to that dinner. I have a strong feeling this whole family gathering is a setup. Think about it. Why would she suddenly insist on having everyone over tonight? In all the years I've known your family, Patricia has never been the one to organize big family dinners. That was always your mother's role, and since she passed away, these gatherings have been sporadic at best. That observation hit me like a lightning bolt. Patricia had been unusually insistent about tonight's dinner. She'd called me 3 times this week, emphasizing how important it was for the whole family to be together. She'd even convinced our cousins David and Maria to fly in from Chicago, and our Uncle Robert to drive down from Portland. She'd told everyone it was a celebration of family unity after what she described as a difficult year for all of us. Michael, what's my legal standing here? I've already contacted attorney Sarah Chen. You remember her from your divorce proceedings. She's reviewing everything tonight, working with her associate to prepare emergency legal documents. But Richard, the most important thing right now is that you don't walk into whatever trap Patricia has set up. If you go to that dinner and she manipulates you into signing anything else, or if she creates some public scene where you appear to be voluntarily transferring assets to her care, it could complicate everything legally. I looked toward the direction of Patricia's house, just 5 miles away, through the suburban neighborhood where we'd both grown up. All our family was probably already there, waiting for me. Aunt Marie, Uncle Robert, my cousins David and Maria, even some of Patricia's friends she'd insisted on inviting. They all probably thought they were just attending a nice family dinner, completely unaware that they were about to become unwitting participants in an elaborate financial fraud scheme. Richard, there's something else you need to know. Michael's voice grew even more serious, if that was possible. I found evidence that she's been telling people you're having serious mental health issues, that you're not capable of making sound financial decisions anymore since your divorce. She's been building a narrative for months. My blood ran cold. What kind of narrative? I spoke with your neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, this afternoon when I was trying to piece together the timeline of Patricia's activities. She mentioned that Patricia visited her last week, expressing deep concern about your state of mind since the divorce. Patricia told Mrs. Henderson that you've been making erratic financial decisions, that you've been drinking heavily, and that the family is worried about your ability to manage your own affairs. The betrayal cut deeper than any financial loss could. Mrs. Henderson had been my neighbor for 15 years. She'd watched me build my business from nothing, seen me maintain my property meticulously, knew me as a responsible, stable member of the community. For Patricia to poison that relationship with lies was unconscionable. Mrs. Henderson mentioned that Patricia seemed very caring and concerned, Michael continued, like a devoted sister trying to help her troubled brother. But now I realize it was all calculated preparation for what she's attempting to do tonight. The manipulation was breathtaking in its scope and cruelty. While I'd been struggling with the emotional devastation of my divorce, trying to rebuild my sense of identity and self-worth at 52 years old, my own sister had been systematically destroying my financial security and my reputation in the community. She'd used my vulnerability as a weapon against me. Michael, how long has this been going on exactly? Based on what I can piece together from bank records, property documents, and the conversations I've had today, she started laying the groundwork about 6 months ago, right around the time your divorce proceedings became public knowledge when the papers were filed at the courthouse. I think she saw an opportunity when you were at your most vulnerable and decided to exploit it. I remembered those months clearly now, Seeing them through this new lens of betrayal, the deep depression that had settled over me like a heavy blanket, the sleepless nights when I'd stare at the ceiling wondering how my 30-year marriage had fallen apart, the way simple decisions became overwhelming challenges. Patricia had suddenly become so attentive and helpful during that period. She'd offered to help with paperwork, to handle some of my bills while I focused on the emotional aspects of my divorce recovery, to organize my important documents so I wouldn't lose track of anything during such a chaotic time. I'd been grateful for her support, touched by what I thought was sisterly love and genuine concern for my well-being. Richard, I need you to listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Michael's voice had that tone he used when delivering particularly devastating news to clients. I've been digging deeper into Patricia's activities since we talked this morning, and this goes far beyond just your house. What else did you find? She's been using your identity to apply for credit lines. I found 3 separate loan applications in your name, totaling $150,000. The applications were submitted from her address using her email account, but with your social security number and what appear to be expertly forged signatures. Richard, she's created an entire parallel financial identity for you that you know nothing about. My hands went completely numb. She took out loans in my name. It gets worse. She's been intercepting your mail for months. I called the post office this afternoon, and there's an official change of address form on file, redirecting your financial statements and important correspondence to a P.O. box that she controls. Richard, you haven't been seeing your real financial statements. She's been creating modified versions and sending them to you to keep you unaware of what she was doing. Everything started making horrible sense, like puzzle pieces clicking into place to form a picture of systematic deception. I'd been wondering why my investment statement seemed different lately. The formatting looked slightly off, some of the account numbers didn't match my records exactly, and the performance numbers seemed inconsistent with market trends I'd been following. But I'd attributed it all to the stress of the divorce, affecting my attention to detail and ability to focus on financial matters. Patricia had offered to help organize my financial documents during that difficult time, claiming she wanted to make sure nothing important got lost in the chaos of dividing assets with my ex-wife. I'd handed her access to everything: bank account information, investment passwords, even the key to my safe deposit box. I thought she was being a loving, supportive sister, helping me through the worst period of my life. Michael, I trusted her with everything. How could she do this to her own brother? The words came out as barely a whisper, my voice breaking with the weight of betrayal. I've seen this before with family financial fraud cases, Richard. It's often the person closest to you, the one you'd never suspect, who perpetrates this kind of systematic theft. They know all your personal information. They have legitimate reasons to be around your documents. They understand your emotional triggers, and they can manipulate your feelings of guilt and family loyalty. Patricia played this perfectly. I thought about all the times over the past few months when Patricia had been unusually interested in my finances. She'd ask detailed questions about my investment strategies, my retirement planning, even my life insurance policies. She'd express concern about whether I was making sound decisions during such an emotional time, suggesting that maybe I should have someone trustworthy helping me manage things until I was thinking more clearly. I thought she was just trying to learn about financial management, maybe worried about her own future security after burning through her inheritance so quickly. Now I realized she'd been conducting reconnaissance, gathering information she needed to steal from me more effectively. What about tonight's dinner? What do you think she's planning exactly? I believe she's going to make some kind of public announcement in front of the family. Maybe claim that you've asked her to manage your finances due to your emotional instability following the divorce. She'll probably have documents ready for you to sign, supposedly to formalize the arrangement and make it official. With the whole family watching, it would appear completely legitimate, and you'd feel enormous pressure to go along with it to avoid embarrassment or conflict. The audacity was staggering. She wasn't just stealing from me. She was planning to do it in front of our entire extended family, using social pressure and my own desire to avoid confrontation against me. She knew I'd never want to air personal problems in front of relatives, especially ones who'd traveled from out of state to be there. Michael, I need to know exactly what she's already taken from me. I need to understand the full scope of this. Here's what I've documented so far. She liquidated your Microsoft stock holdings. That was worth $95,000 when she sold it 3 weeks ago. She's been withdrawing money from your savings account in increments small enough to avoid triggering automatic bank fraud alerts, totaling about $47,000 over the past 4 months. She's also taken control of your grandmother's jewelry collection. Remember, that was left to both of you jointly, but she was supposed to coordinate with you before making any decisions about selling or distributing the pieces. Grandmother's jewelry. Those weren't just valuable pieces. They were family heirlooms with deep, sentimental value that went back 3 generations. Our grandmother had specifically wanted us to share them equally, hoping they'd stay in the family for future generations. She'd made us promise during her final illness that we'd work together to preserve the family legacy those pieces represented. She sold grandmother's sapphire necklace set, Michael continued, his voice heavy with the weight of additional betrayal. I found the transaction record at Morrison's estate jewelry downtown. She got $23,000 for pieces that were professionally appraised at $45,000 just 2 years ago. She probably sold them quickly to a dealer who knew they were underpriced, just to get fast cash without raising questions. I felt physically sick. That sapphire set was something I'd planned to give to my daughter Emma when she got married someday. Patricia knew that. We'd talked about it specifically during the reading of Grandmother's will 5 years ago. Emma had admired those pieces since she was a little girl, and Grandmother had always said they'd be perfect for her wedding day because the blue stones matched her eyes. Michael, what's our immediate next step? Attorney Chen is preparing emergency injunctions to freeze all your accounts and prevent any further property transfers. She's also filing a police report for identity theft, fraud, and elder financial abuse. Technically, you qualify because you're over 50, and she used your trusted relationship to exploit you. But Richard, you absolutely cannot show up at that dinner tonight. If you walk into Patricia's trap, she might try to manipulate the situation to make it look like you're voluntarily transferring assets to her care. What about the family? They're all expecting me. If I don't show up, Patricia will probably spin some story about my mental state, maybe claim I'm having some kind of breakdown. Let her. Right now, your priority is protecting what's left of your assets and building an ironclad legal case against her. Once we have everything properly documented and the legal protections in place, we can tell your family the complete truth about what Patricia has been doing. The evidence will speak for itself. I looked at my phone and saw 5 missed calls from Patricia herself, plus several text messages that had come in while I was talking to Michael. She was probably getting nervous that her carefully orchestrated plan might be falling apart because the guest of honor hadn't arrived yet. Michael, how do you think the family will react when they eventually find out the truth about what she's been doing? That's difficult to predict, Richard. Patricia has clearly been working on them for months, planting seeds about your supposed mental instability and financial incompetence. She's probably told them stories about finding you confused about bills, maybe claimed she's seen you making irrational purchases or forgetting to pay important obligations. Some of your relatives might initially believe her version of events, especially if she's been consistent with her lies. My phone buzzed with another text message from Patricia. "Richard, where are you? Everyone's here and we're all worried sick about you. Uncle Robert flew all the way from Portland specifically to see you. We really need to have that important family discussion tonight about helping you through this difficult transition period. Please don't shut us out. We love you and want to support you through this challenging time." Even in her text messages, she was masterfully manipulating the narrative, making it sound like I was the one with problems that needed fixing, positioning herself as the caring sister trying to hold the family together while I fell apart. Michael, reading these messages from her, I'm starting to realize how sophisticated her manipulation has been. She's not just stealing money. She's been systematically destroying my reputation and relationships. Exactly. She's been creating a fictional version of your mental state and financial competence, spreading that narrative throughout your social circle and family network. By the time she makes her move tonight, everyone will already believe that you need her help managing your affairs. As I sat there in my car, I began to remember other incidents over the past few months that now seemed suspicious in this new context. Patricia had started showing up at my workplace occasionally, usually when I was dealing with stressful situations. She'd make comments to my employees about how worried she was about me, how the divorce was really taking a toll on my decision-making abilities. At the time, I'd thought she was just being a supportive sister, but now I realized she'd been poisoning those relationships too. Michael, I'm scared. Not just about the money, though. Losing $3 million would devastate my retirement plans completely. I'm scared about losing my family, my reputation, everything I've built over 30 years of hard work. Richard, I understand that fear, but you need to remember that anyone who truly cares about you will want to know the truth. Yes, Patricia has had months to build her false narrative, but facts are facts. The forged documents, the unauthorized transactions, the identity theft, the intercepted mail, none of that can be explained away by sisterly concern for your well-being. My phone rang again. This time it was my cousin David, calling from Patricia's house. "Richard, man, where the hell are you? Patricia is getting really worried, and honestly, so am I. She's been telling us about some of the struggles you've been having lately, and we all want to be here for you. This family dinner was supposed to be about supporting you through this rough patch." I could hear voices in the background, Uncle Robert's deep laugh, Aunt Marie asking someone to pass the wine, children playing in another room. It sounded like a normal, happy family gathering, the kind of evening I'd been looking forward to all week, a chance to feel connected and supported after months of isolation during my divorce. "David, I can't make it tonight. Something urgent came up that I need to deal with. Richard, are you okay? You sound strange. Patricia mentioned that you've been struggling with depression since the divorce, making some questionable financial decisions, maybe drinking a little too much. We're all here for you, you know that, right? Whatever's going on, we can help you figure it out." There it was again. Patricia's version of my mental state, spread throughout the family like a carefully planted virus. She'd probably told everyone some version of the same story. Poor Richard, falling apart after his divorce, making bad decisions, drinking too much, needing family intervention and guidance. "David, has Patricia been talking to you regularly about my situation?" "Well, yeah. She's been keeping all of us updated on how you're doing. She's really worried about you, Richard. She mentioned that you've been asking her to help with your finances because you're feeling overwhelmed. And she wanted tonight to be a chance for the whole family to discuss how we can support you better." The manipulation was even more extensive than I'd imagined. Patricia hadn't just been building a case for tonight's dinner. She'd been conducting a months-long campaign to rewrite the narrative of my life, turning my legitimate struggles with divorce into evidence of mental incompetence. "David, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Patricia has not been helping me with my finances at my request. I never asked her to get involved with my money management. Richard, that's not what she told us. She said you specifically asked her to take over some of your bill-paying and investment decisions because you were feeling too stressed to handle them properly. That's a lie, David. She's been accessing my accounts without permission, forging my signature on documents, and stealing money from me. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear David moving away from the noise of the party, probably stepping outside or into a quieter room. Richard, that's a really serious accusation. Are you sure you're thinking clearly right now? I mean, with everything you've been going through with the divorce, even David, who I'd known since childhood, was questioning my mental state, rather than considering that Patricia might be lying. Her groundwork had been that thorough. David, my financial advisor, discovered forged documents this afternoon. Patricia has been systematically stealing from me for months. She's taken nearly $150,000 so far and is trying to transfer my house into her name. Richard, I think you need to come to dinner tonight and talk this through with the family. Patricia has been nothing but supportive of you. She spent months worrying about your well-being, helping you organize your life during a difficult time. Ask her to show you the power of attorney document she claims I signed. Ask her why my mail has been redirected to a post office box that she controls. Ask her why she sold grandmother's sapphire necklace without discussing it with me first. Another pause, longer this time. Richard, you're really concerning me. The way you're talking, these paranoid thoughts about Patricia, maybe you should consider getting some professional help. The divorce has clearly affected you more than any of us realized. I felt a crushing sense of isolation. Patricia's manipulation had been so effective that even when I told the truth, my own family members assumed I was having some kind of mental breakdown. Michael, I said, putting David on hold and switching back to my advisor. They don't believe me. Patricia's story is so well established that they think I'm having paranoid delusions. Richard, that's exactly why you can't go to that dinner tonight. She's created an environment where anything you say in your own defense will be interpreted as further evidence of your instability. You need to let the legal system and the documented evidence speak for you. I switched back to David. David, I need you to do something for me. Tonight, during dinner, pay attention to Patricia's behavior. Notice if she tries to get everyone to sign anything, or if she presents any documents for group discussion. Notice if she brings up my finances in front of the whole family. Richard, you're scaring me with this paranoid talk. I'm not paranoid, David. I'm the victim of a carefully planned fraud scheme. By tomorrow morning, you'll have all the evidence you need to see that I've been telling the truth. I hung up, feeling emotionally drained. Michael was still on the line, having heard most of my conversation with David. Richard, I know that was difficult, but you did the right thing by not going to that dinner. Patricia can't execute her plan if you're not there to be manipulated into signing documents. What happens now, Michael? Now we let Patricia show her true colors. Without you there to manipulate, she'll have to either cancel her scheme or try to explain to your family why she was so insistent that you needed to be there tonight. Either way, her behavior will start to seem suspicious to people who know her well. 3 hours later, my phone started ringing constantly. First it was Aunt Marie, then Uncle Robert, then my cousin Maria. Each call followed the same pattern. Initial concern about my absence, followed by confusion about Patricia's increasingly erratic behavior during the dinner. Richard, this is your Aunt Marie. Something very strange happened tonight at Patricia's dinner. After you didn't show up, she seemed to become more and more agitated. She kept insisting that we needed to have a family meeting about your financial situation. But when we asked her specific questions about what kind of help you needed, she became evasive and defensive. I put the call on speaker so Michael could hear. She brought out a folder of documents and said you'd asked her to get everyone's input on some important financial decisions you needed to make. But when Uncle Robert asked to see the papers, she quickly put them away and said maybe it wasn't the right time after all. What happened then, Aunt Marie? Well, that's when things got really weird. She started crying and saying that you'd been calling her all week, begging for help with managing your money because you felt overwhelmed and incompetent. But David told her that he'd just talked to you, and you sounded completely normal, just busy with some urgent business matter. I felt a mixture of vindication and sadness. My family was finally seeing cracks in Patricia's carefully constructed facade. She became very defensive when we started asking questions. She accused David of not understanding how serious your mental health issues have become. She said we were all being naive about the extent of your problems. Aunt Marie, did she try to get anyone to sign anything? That's the strangest part, Richard. She had us all sit down in the living room after dinner, said she had some important family business to discuss. She pulled out this thick folder of official-looking papers and started talking about how you'd asked her to become your financial power of attorney because you no longer trusted yourself to make good decisions. Michael was taking notes rapidly, documenting everything for the legal case. But then Uncle Robert, you know how he is with legal matters since he's been dealing with estate planning, asked to examine the documents more closely. He said something about the signature page looked unusual to him. That's when Patricia completely lost her composure. What do you mean? She started screaming at Uncle Robert, accusing him of not caring about your well-being, saying that the family was being unsupportive during your time of crisis. Then she grabbed all the papers and locked herself in her bedroom, refusing to come out for the rest of the evening. I could picture the scene. Patricia's carefully orchestrated manipulation falling apart when faced with reasonable questions from people who actually cared about protecting my interests. Richard, I have to ask you directly. Did you really ask Patricia to manage your finances? Absolutely not, Aunt Marie. I'm calling you from my car where I've been sitting for hours talking to my financial advisor and attorney about the fact that Patricia has been stealing money from me for months. Oh my God! Richard, are you serious? Completely serious. She's forged my signature on documents, stolen nearly $150,000 from my accounts, and was planning to use tonight's dinner to manipulate me into signing away control of my assets to her. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Richard, I feel sick. We all believed her stories about your mental state. She seemed so genuinely concerned about you, so devoted to helping you through a difficult time. How could we have been so blind? Because she's a skilled manipulator, Aunt Marie. She spent months building a false narrative, using my real struggles with divorce as a foundation for lies about my mental competence. What can we do to help? How can we make this right? Right now, just be aware that everything Patricia told you about me over the past few months was part of an elaborate fraud scheme. Tomorrow, my attorney will have all the documentation ready to prove what she's been doing. After I hung up with Aunt Marie, my phone immediately rang again. This time it was Uncle Robert. Richard, I need to tell you something important. After Patricia locked herself in her bedroom tonight, I got curious about those documents she'd been trying to get us to review. I have experience with estate planning and power of attorney paperwork, and something about that signature page bothered me. What did you notice, Uncle Robert? I managed to get a quick look before she grabbed the papers away, and the signature didn't look right. It was too perfect, too controlled. When people sign important legal documents, there's usually some natural variation in the pen pressure and letter formation. This looked like someone had practiced writing your name multiple times to get it exactly right. Michael gave me a thumbs up. Independent verification of the forged signatures would be crucial for the criminal case. There's something else, Richard. I've been thinking about Patricia's financial situation over the past few years. She went through her inheritance remarkably quickly, and I never really understood how someone could spend that much money so fast on failed business ventures. What are you thinking? I'm wondering if this isn't the first time she's done something like this. Maybe she didn't really lose her money on bad investments and cryptocurrency scams. Maybe she's been practicing this kind of manipulation and theft for years, targeting other people outside the family. That possibility hadn't occurred to me, but it made horrible sense. Patricia's skill at forgery, her sophisticated understanding of financial systems, her ability to manipulate multiple people simultaneously, these weren't amateur mistakes. She'd been too good at this for it to be her first time. Uncle Robert, would you be willing to make a statement to the police about what you observed tonight? Absolutely. And Richard, I owe you an apology. Over the past few months, Patricia convinced me that you were struggling with depression and making poor decisions. I should have reached out to you directly instead of just accepting her version of events. You couldn't have known. She played all of us perfectly. After Uncle Robert hung up, I finally felt like I could breathe normally for the first time in hours. My family was beginning to understand the truth, and Patricia's web of lies was unraveling. Michael broke the silence. Richard, we have enough evidence now to pursue full criminal charges. The forged signatures, the identity theft, the fraudulent loan applications, the unauthorized transfer attempts. She's looking at serious federal charges that could result in decades in prison. What about recovering the money she's already stolen? That will be more challenging, but not impossible. We can trace the transactions, freeze any accounts where the money might still be sitting, and potentially recover assets she purchased with your stolen funds. The house transfer attempt failed because I caught it in time, so your most valuable asset is protected, and my reputation, my relationships with family and friends. Tonight proved that the truth has a way of revealing itself. When people see the documented evidence of Patricia's crimes, they'll understand that you were the victim, not the perpetrator of financial irresponsibility. As I finally started my car to drive home, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. Betrayal and anger at Patricia's calculated cruelty, relief that the scheme had been discovered before she could complete the theft of my house, gratitude for Michael's vigilance and quick action, and a strange sense of clarity about moving forward with my life. At 52 years old, I'd learned a painful lesson about trust and family loyalty. But I'd also discovered that I was stronger than I'd given myself credit for, capable of surviving both divorce and financial fraud without losing my essential sense of self. Patricia would face the consequences of her choices through the legal system. My job now was to rebuild the relationships she'd damaged with her lies, recover what financial losses I could, and move forward with a clearer understanding of who I could truly trust. The family dinner I'd been dreading missing had turned out to be the best thing I'd never attended. Sometimes the most important conversations happen when you're not in the room to be manipulated by them.